In this video, we're going to be going over a tier list of all 6 of the currently available Wayfinders in Founders Season 1. I will be posting an updated version of this video in Founders Season 2, and I'll leave a link to that in the pinned post in the comment section down below. If you're watching this video after Founders Season 2, go ahead and jump down to that comment, pop over to that video, and ignore this video. But let's get into it. We're going to be rating them all from a tier of D all the way up to S tier. We've got a couple S tiers, a couple A tiers, a B tier, and a D tier in this list. If you guys are watching this video in Season 1, go ahead and pause the video, go down to the comment section down below, and let me know what you would rank each one of the Wayfinders. Let's try to get a community tier list going in the comment section down below and see how close your guys' tier list matches my tier list. But let's go ahead and dive down in and check out our first Wayfinder, the most popular one in all the polls I ran for which Wayfinder you would be starting as, and that Wayfinder is Ness. Now, Ness says she's one of the most complicated Wayfinders to play. She is a solid Wayfinder to play, and I don't think she is as difficult as she is led to believe. Now, Ness has the potential to play both as a weapon power hero or an ability power hero, but when you run her as an ability power, you turn her kit into a survival kit instead of necessarily a damage kit. So there are some drawbacks with that flexibility, but I know people have built her and play her both ways at relatively high level content in the game. So she's got a lot of flexibility. She was really popular in all the starting hero polls, and she is the Wayfinder that I started the game with. Now, I think her true potential is with the ability power build and her burst potential, but she's not the burstiest Wayfinder in the game, so she can't get the S tier there. My problem with her kit, though, is she doesn't have a lot of utility in her kit for group play. All of her kit revolves around dealing damage or self-sustaining, not through healing or any means like that, but self-sustaining by getting out of the way of attacks and heavy attacks and stuff like that. Inherently, she ends up being one of the best solo play Wayfinders in the game because of this, because she doesn't really need to rely on people to pick her up most of the time if you play her kit well. And with her ability power, she has the ability to burst down big threats when they come about. All in all, she's a great Wayfinder, and if you're planning on playing the game a lot solo, she's definitely the Wayfinder I would recommend starting the game as because of that. But because of her lack of utility and her not top tier burst capability, because she does get outbursted by Kairos, I'm going to give Ness a solid B rating in this regard. Now, Silo, on the other hand, is a unique character that there's a lot of theory crafting going on about how to build him, because you can honestly build him ability power, weapon power, or crit power. Because he's a survivalist, going deep crit power is a good potential thing, but I haven't seen a lot of people theory crafting the crit power potential of Silo yet. Now, Silo's kit is almost the polar opposite of the kit from Ness. A lot of his abilities revolve around slowing and controlling the enemies, taunting the enemies off of people with his clone, or stunning people with the ultimate and slowing them down as well. Now, for Silo, I think his true potential is yet to be seen, but I think he has a lot of sustained DPS capability, potentially the highest sustained DPS in the game, or second highest sustained DPS in the game, while still actively having a very solid kit. And that's where I think he really shines, is his ability to control the enemies while still putting out some solid sustained DPS. He's also two of the Wayfinders in the game that have a way to get a really cheeky res off, him and Windgrave both, because Silo can taunt the enemies or slow the enemies to get those reses off really easy, whereas Windgrave has 2 shields that he can use to help get his allies up in a fight, giving him a lot of potential to really assist a party in the long term of the fight when people go down over stupid things or standing in those poison clouds, right? Because of his very utilitarian kit and high DPS sustain capabilities, we're going to put Silo in the A tier. Moving on to another really great party play Wayfinder, we have Windgrave. Now, Windgrave is a really, really good character for group play mechanics, and there's a lot of people playing him a lot of different ways. I think a lot of people started this game as Windgrave, got bored of the sword and board, and decided they needed to come up with another way to play him. He's a pretty solid character with a rifle. He's a pretty solid character with a two-hander. And he's a really solid character with a sword and shield. It just depends on how you want to play him. I don't think he has a lot of potential to play high ability power, but he does have a lot of potential to play a hybrid ability power. So going a little bit weapon power, a little bit ability power gives you kind of a flexible playstyle where he ends up being the tank of the party, able to put out good healing output as well as putting out good damage output. Not the best damage, not the best healing necessarily, but a good balance of the two. But his kit does have a lot of flexibility. Not only can he heal, but he can also defend with both his shield, blocking ranged attacks, his ultimate that will block all incoming damage, which is a great utility for rezzing when everybody else in the party dies. And let's be honest, if you build Windgrave for defense, everybody is going to die before the Windgrave dies. So that is something to keep in mind there. He's a great group play hero. I think he is lacking a little bit in the solo play because of his lack of damage output early on. But there are some ways of getting around his lack of damage output for some of the DPS checks while playing through the story. All in all, he's a solid hero and a great first pick for anybody new to Wayfinder. Due to his flexibility of playstyle though, due to his ability to adapt to almost any weapon in the game and still be able to put out some decent damage output, and a lot of damage output if you really want to focus on damage output, he can put out a good chunk of damage. He definitely can't keep up with the likes of some of the other damage dealers in the game, no matter how much you play around with his kit, but because of his kit's flexibility, I am going to give him a solid A rating in this regard. He's not the best at anything, but he's damn good at everything. And that's basically what pushed him from B tier up to A tier. Next up, we have Venomous. Now, this is currently the Wayfinder I'm maining for most of the content I'm clearing. She has a very flexible kit, but she doesn't have the control like Silo and Windgrave has, but she has a lot of healing output capability. Because basically everything she does in her kit has the potential to heal either you or heal your party or both. Now, being a survivalist, she does have the flexibility to be able to build deep crit power without having to build a whole bunch of crit rating. She does have the ability to play as both a weapon power, ability power, or crit power Wayfinder because of that, and has the potential to do some of the highest, if not the highest, sustain DPS in the game, because even when moving around, those dots are going to keep on rolling. And she does have the ability to play as more than just a gun. Actually, her best playstyle, I believe, right now is playing with the dagger weapons over playing with the rifle weapons. Also, when playing with the daggers, you're already close range, and getting those heals off on your teammates become inherently so much easier to do. Now, she's definitely not a burst DPS character. Nothing in her kit's going to give you a lot of burst potential or big numbers, but they're going to give you a little bit of a spike in damage like the Vampiric Blast. It does do a good chunk of AoE damage, and because of the way her kit works with the Venom Clouds and stuff, if built out properly, will give you a lot of AoE damage and the ability to really mow down large groups of enemies like in wave spawn situations. So all in all, she's a great sustain, horrible burst DPS, and really good utility with the heals, having more healing output potential than even Windgrave does in this regard. And because of all of that and the fact that she is, I believe, the highest sustained DPS Wayfinder in the game currently, we're going to put her into an S tier. Then next up, we have Kairos, the burst god himself. Now, if you're looking for a character that can burst down anything quickly, Kairos is your man. This is hands down. If you want burst damage, you want to just, hey, you're dead, this is the Wayfinder for you, bar none. Now, he has a lot less flexibility than a lot of Wayfinders. He really does. He's got really, really low max health. When you're leveling this guy up, pro tip, get the third upgrade into Rake as quickly as possible. It makes your Rake heal you, okay? Like, get that. It'll change your life. You can't get that till like level 14 though. So those first 14 levels, man, they suck. Build this guy with a lot of ability power though. Okay. You want to build him a lot of ability power. I personally would say a lot of max health and resilience for your defensive stats early on in the game, and a lot of ability power pretty much the whole game. Like, ability power and this guy is like bread and butter. It's like peanut butter and jelly. You just give him ability power and things die, okay? There's not much to say about Kairos except for the fact that he's the only Wayfinder in the game that can literally one-shot the final boss in the game right now, Legion. So, like, I mean, he's probably going to get nerfed. But until that happens, stack ability power on him and Prophet, okay? He is a little bit more complex to play, I think, than the complexity rating gives him. You can combo some of his abilities to get insane damage. If you can't one-shot a boss with him, read your abilities. You're not using them right, or you don't have enough ability power yet. But he has that potential to one-shot pretty much any boss in the game. I have seen builds with him doing 140k damage in one ultimate attack. And because he can do more damage in one shot than any other Wayfinder in the game, do it in a relatively controlled fashion, and make boss fights faster than any other Wayfinder in the game, giving him great potential for farming up parts for other Wayfinders either now or in the future. Kairos, you're S tier, buddy. Solid S tier, my guy. Even if you are a one-trick pony, you are an S tier one-trick pony. Senja, the muscle mommy herself. Now, a lot of people really like the idea of Sinja. I personally really like the idea of Sinja. All of her kit seems really cool. The whole showboating idea and everything. Like, the concept of Sinja is great. The execution of Sinja is not so great, guys. Now, the problem with her kit is you want to play her for damage or you want to play her for tanking. Those are the two roles that she can kind of fill. You can make her a tanky character or you can make her a damage dealing character. The problem is, like, if you've played two-handed weapons in Wayfinder, you know they have this momentum gauge, and you need to sustain that momentum for optimal damage output. But she needs to stop attacking stuff to build up her crowd favor, which means she loses momentum. And if you stop using your crowd favor abilities to build your momentum up to 3 stacks, then you start losing crowd favor. So it's like, what? You can't do both at the same time. Her potential to use like something like daggers, same problem. Daggers need to stay actively in combat pretty much all the time to keep that damage buff going nice and strong, but then you lose that when you start doing crowd favor to get the bonus from crowd favor. So it's like, you can play her as whatever weapon you equipped her as. If you want to go weapon power and just like just play the weapon and like use her pull, and that's about it. Like, her kit contradicts everything you want to do with her. There's currently one solid way of playing her, and that is with a solid gun that does a high burst damage gun, because you can buff up the gun through her ability, through her crowd favor, and get really big hits off with the guns. But like, who wants to play her with a gun? Like, she don't look like somebody that you want to be shooting people with, like, right? Okay, so there's my problem with Sinja. It's a big problem with Sinja. Now, as far as the tanking capability goes, she has the ability to taunt enemies, but she has no way to sustain herself. And none of the healers in the game really have a good way to sustain her either. Plus, who wants to build her around being able to tank and not have some sustain of her own to be able to play the tank role without... Like, I know you don't want to necessarily play a tank role solo, but if you're going to play a tank role character, you want to be able to play solo too. Windgrave can do that. She cannot. You play her a tank role, good luck, my guys. Like, she has no self-sustain, so playing her as a tanky character is kind of rough solo. There's potential for it at high-level play, maybe later on down the road. I haven't got to that point with her, so I can't really comment on how well she tanks late game. She does have the potential to have more damage output than Windgrave while tanking, because the tank ability does build up her crowd favor. So if you're playing her sword and board kind of tank-esque, you should be able to get the crowd favor up without too much problems with the sword and board weapon capabilities. So there's potential there. I don't think anybody's gone down that road far enough to find out the answers to that. But Sinja, don't hit me, but you're a D tier. You are 100% a D tier. I'm going to try to find the post about getting her kit reworked. If I can find it on the website, I'm going to link that in the video description. Go and vote to get this girl's kit reworked, because she needs it. If you're new to Wayfinder, unlock all the other Wayfinders before you get around to unlocking Senja. She needs a rework. She's not a good character right now. You can play her pretty good, but like, if you want to actually play her kit and a weapon, It's not happening right now. There's not much to say about Sinja. She's in a rough spot. So if you guys took the time to go put your tier list in the comment section, how closely did your guys' tier list match my tier list? I'm very curious to find out what you guys ended up posting in that regard. And I will be updating this video in Founder Season 2 when the new Wayfinder comes out. He's going to be like priority number 1 to get that new Wayfinder unlocked and start theory crafting some builds for him and try to put him somewhere in the tier list. But let me know what you guys thought in the comment section down below. And until next time, guys, happy hunting.